I'm Lee Liming, Director of Professional Services for Globus. My team works with researchers to build Globus features into their systems and applications. In 2 previous videos, I showed you how to create an application identity in Globus. This identity is separate from my personal identity. I can share it with my team members, and it enables fully non-interactive use of Globus. I also showed how to use this application identity instead of my own with the Globus CLI. In this video, I'll show you how to use an application identity with a Globus group. If I make my application a member of a group, it will have any permissions I've granted to the group. I can even make my application a group manager so it can list, add, or remove other members. In the previous CLI video, I showed how I can use my application identity in the CLI by setting environment variables with the application's client ID and client secret. The Globus whoami command should show my application's identity instead of my own. When I search for groups my application is a member of, there shouldn't be any yet. I'm setting up automation for my research lab. I don't have a lot of storage in my lab, but I'm leasing a huge amount of storage on our campus-wide research computing systems, which I can access with Globus. I want my lab automation to automatically transfer data from my lab sequencer to my campus storage, and then delete the local copy so we have room for more sequences. I have Globus Connect Personal in my lab and created a guest collection there. I also created a guest collection for my lab's campus storage. We have a Globus group set up with all of my lab team members in it, and both the lab and campus storage collections allow access by this group. Now I need to make my application a member of the group so it can access the collections too. Let's do it. Here's the application identity I created in the other video. This is the identity I need to add to the group. I can use this handy clipboard icon to copy the identity. Here's my lab group. I'll click the Invite Others button and paste in the application identity. I'll click the Email button and send invitation. When I view the group's members, my application doesn't show up. That's because it's in the waiting state, waiting to accept the invitation. I can fix that by selecting Waiting Members, clicking the application identity, and clicking the Add Membership button. Now, when I look at the group in the Globus web app, I see that my application identity is a member of the group. And when I go back to the Globus CLI running as my application identity and check for groups it belongs to, I see that this application is now a member of my group. And when I check collections that have been shared with it, I now see the collections my lab uses, the Globus Connect Personal in the lab, and the campus-wide research computing storage. If there were any other permissions granted to the group, my application would have those too. Remember that groups can have permissions to Globus collections, search indices, and flows too. Now that my application is a member of my lab group and has permissions to the lab's Globus collections, I can write shell scripts, Python code, or Globus flows that automate transferring new data from the lab to our campus storage and free up the lab storage. That'll be the subject of a different video. But if you want to get started now, we have a great Jupyter notebook that shows you how to write this code. Okay, now my application is a member of my lab group and has the permissions we've set up for members of my group. But what if I want my application to be able to manage the group's membership, looking up all of the group's members and adding or removing members? As things are now, if my application tries to list the members of the lab group, it gets an error stating that only admins and managers can view memberships. If I want my application to be able to manage the group, I need to give it the manager role in the group. Here's my group again. If I click the Members tab, I see the group members and their roles. Now, I can change my application's role in the group to Manager. Now that my application has the Manager role in my group, it can list the group's other members. It can add a member to the group, and it can remove members from the group. I've shown all of these features using the Globus command line interface, but of course you can do all of these things in Python applications with the Globus Python SDK as well. We have another Jupyter notebook that shows you how to write group management code. Let's review. In my other videos, I created a Globus application identity that's separate from my personal identities and doesn't require an interactive login, and I showed how to use it in the Globus CLI. In this video, I added the application identity to a group, so it now has permissions to the Globus collections my lab uses, because they've been shared with the group. I also gave the application identity the manager role in the group, so now it can list the group's members and add and remove other members. There's more I can do with this application identity. Watch for videos on the following related topics.